Raindrops in her eyes signal a coming storm, and with it, the chorus of nature begins. Watch closely, for where rain falls, frogs emerge, heralding the rhythm of life.
Females can lay up to 4,000 eggs each that hatch and develop into frogs in about 18 days. Eggs of amphibians, and in this case the bullfrog, have no shell. The tiny eggs are only about 2 millimeters in length. They're black and white in color and encased in a 4 millimeter jelly capsule. The jelly-like substance around the eggs protects them to some degree. It retains warmth and prevents dehydration. The eggs hatch about 2 days after being laid, provided no predator has stumbled across them. Small water birds will scout the shallow waters, feeding on worms, insects, and if they can find them, on bullfrog eggs. With the exception of the territorial males who will assume the role of parental guardians of their offspring, the rest of the bullfrogs will leave the water after mating and move to the surrounding savanna grasslands. Here they will spend a number of days feeding on literally anything that will fit into their mouths, building up the necessary energy reserves for the coming winter. Bullfrogs are not hunters. They will rather ambush their prey. In the animal footpath, a puff adder lies basking in the sun, observing the exodus of the bullfrogs. Whilst moving, puff adders almost give the expression that they're very slow. But don't be fooled. The puff adder is one of the fastest striking snakes in the world. When provoked, it can be a deadly encounter. Once the bullfrogs have accumulated sufficient energy reserves, they once again bury themselves below the ground surface, where they fall into a state of dormancy called estivation. Eventually, the territorial males and the newly metamorphosed frogs will also follow their example. The day is drawing to a close, and in and around the savanna bushveld, animals are going through their evening ritual, preparing for the night. As the sun sets, it paints a glorious picture with rich, warm African colors, bestowing a last breathtaking picture on Africa and her children. Its duties have now been transferred to Sister Moon to watch over everything. A new day is born, and rays of yellow and orange shoot through the air as the arising sun announces the dawn of a new day. Morning cries of birds and hungry babies fill the air. We set off early to the swamp, just to find it deserted, with only 2 territorial male bullfrogs engaged in a fight. Like insects, amphibians, and in this case our bullfrog, go through a set of changes as they grow. This process is called metamorphosis, meaning change of form. Bullfrogs start life as eggs, which are also called spawn, which hatch into tadpoles after 2 days. At first they're fish-like animals with external gills and a long swimming tail, but no limbs. Tadpoles are herbivores. Their main activities are to eat and grow. At this stage they feed on water plants, using their gills to take oxygen from the water. They filter feed on microscopic plants that live suspended in water, or graze on algae that cover plants, rocks, bones, and other submerged objects. Tadpoles will always bundle together, and move around in a tight school. Safety in numbers will be their survival strategy for days to come. Bullfrogs are some of the best parents in the animal kingdom. The tadpoles will always be found close to the large territorial male. He will lie amongst them, serve and protect them until they're strong enough to fend for themselves. Tadpoles have many enemies, believe it or not. One of their biggest predators, however, is the terrapin. Terrapins are carnivores and they feed almost exclusively on live prey in the water. Tadpoles are amongst their favorite foods, and they will stop at nothing to get hold of a tasty tadpole morsel. But this pair of terrapins, however, has decided to satisfy their appetite in a much more natural way. Turtle sex can be rowdy, and the noise attracts the attention of the guarding male bullfrog. Now why don't I go and look at what that noise is all about? He seems to think by himself. Oh my, can you believe it? These two hoodlums are not only a threat to my children, but this show in front of the kids, or should we say, tadpoles, is definitely not on. Action has to be taken. However, Mother Nature herself poses the biggest threat for the school of tadpoles at this stage. The water level of the swamp is dropping alarmingly fast. The sun is excruciatingly hot, causing the water to evaporate from the pans and swamps. The tadpoles become trapped in a small part of the swamp, with little water to see them through to adulthood. Instinct leads the male bullfrog to dig a channel to enable his offspring to swim to the large expanses of water. This is no easy task at all, because by now the clay has started to harden and dry. The bullfrog uses his strong hind legs equipped with conspicuous spade-like tubercles on each foot to loosen the soil. Then it is time to bulldoze the loose soil away with its nose, a grueling task that can also damage the face of the bullfrog. In one case, it was found that a male bulldozed a channel of almost 15 meters to save his offspring. Most of the tadpoles survived this ordeal, but sadly some of them were trapped in the drying pool, facing a long, protracted death. In Africa, it often happens that the death of one animal contributes to the survival of another.
In episode 5, we continue our journey in Sub-Saharan Africa in search of the continent's largest amphibian. This episode is full of intrigue, with not only the meerkat receiving a huge surprise, but also the dominant male bullfrog facing a threat. Additionally, there is a new challenge for the tadpoles and danger looming for a family of mice. Witness the events unfold, including an incident where a woman faces a python attack. Will she survive?